What do you miss the most from pre-COVID? As a person who works nights, stores and restaurants that are open late, I used to be able to get out of work at whatever hour and have a dozen different grocery stores and fast food restaurants I could stop at on the way home. And now 2 years after the pandemic I have only one or two, and sometimes they'll be closed anyway for whatever reason. This has been one of the biggest changes for me as well. Fortunately found one store just 2 days ago which is 24 hours still. Can't all be working in the day. Not being able to book things long in advance because you have no idea what the situation will be like in a handful of months. You can sure as hell buy the tickets for a gig that's happening months from now, but is it actually gonna happen when it's supposed to? Who TF knows? My Matchba Multiply 2020 concert tickets now 2022 tickets. My teen is not amused that I'm calling the band Matchba Multiply 22. I guess I miss not having a stack of inconveniences that have to be dealt with in order to do public things. It's not that any one inconvenience is too much, but it's just so many little things. Amen to that. All the little things add up. Movies in the theater and convention season, and all virtual social life is sucking. Depending on where you lived, theaters were open the whole time, but nobody was going. I have a friend who actually went more during the pandemic because he was literally the only person in the theater for close to a year. My sister, not seen her in person since the start as she works abroad. Sure we video chat, but 2 years is a long time to not see someone in person. Yeah, this is probably it for me as well. I'm the one overseas, and I haven't seen my family in 2.5 years, and it will be at least 3 before I'm able. I've missed deaths, births, weddings and so many holidays and get-togethers. At this point I have begun to feel so disconnected from their lives that it's stressful thinking about trying to catch up, and to be honest I'm pulling away from them and becoming numb to it. Honestly, just the feeling of security we didn't realize. You want to go out, go for it. Making plans somewhere out of town, you go right ahead. Planning a vacation somewhere, no problem. Now you can't really make any large scale plans without the decent chance it'll get cancelled and you lose the down payments. I finally gave up and got a refund after a music festival I had tickets to was postponed 4 times. Like I get why, but there's only so much you can take. My grandparents. My dad. I'm so sorry. A normal university experience. Where I live many universities have been mostly virtual since March 2020, so the community and social aspects of university has been almost entirely absent. And the fact that we are still paying full price for zero amenities and bullshit classes, some of which don't even meet, is straight highway robbery. Exactly, you'd think they'd at least half the tuition or not charge facilities fees, but good lord they're seriously out here charging $65k a year for ducking Zoom classes. I think if I had to be all virtual I'd have to transfer to a cheaper school. Damn. Also want teenagers here to know, if you are not already rich as in your family can burn $250,000. Taking out $250,000 in loans is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. I had a close friend in high school. We were basically the same class rank. We had similar skill sets, same major. We ultimately ended up getting similar jobs and making a similar salary, except I took the nearly full ride to a state school and she went for her dream school that costs $70k a year. No assistance. So now it's like 20 years later. Our lives are similar, except one of us owes nearly $300,000 ducking dollars, even with a plush job that takes years to pay off, not counting interest. And even if you pay it off, what did you really pay for? So some already rich school can give their football coach a slightly higher salary next year. Okay, like ask yourself, non-rich people, would you rather have a shiny piece of paper or a slightly less shiny paper and a new house? A slightly less shiny paper and 30 vacations to countries around the world, enough for a lifetime. A slightly less shiny paper and the financial freedom to move anywhere with anyone at any time. Debt isn't just a number. It will crush you and your freedom and even your silly daily wants. $300k can be buy every fun gadget, event ticket, or clothing I want for decades, or it can be money I owe a bank forever. Rich kids do whatever you want, I guess. You're probably used to it. I'm currently in first year of college. I hope next year I'll finally have some classes in the actual college instead of my bedroom. I'm in my last year in my bachelor's program undergraduate, and I switched colleges right before the pandemic hit. So not only have I removed myself from a wonderful group of people in my previous college, whom I'd gotten close to, I've also spent the greatest part of my degree with people I've only ever talked to online, except a couple that I did meet once. Talk about bad decisions. Not living in a constantly changing system. Pre-COVID, everything was scheduled: school holidays, places were open to visit. But since COVID, everything that has to do with the government is constantly changing. I just miss being on stable ground. I graduated in 2019 and decided to take a gap year in 2020, and thank Duck that I did. In-person classes. Before COVID, I took a drawing class, a sewing class, etc. Now, it's so much harder to try out a new hobby. I was in PTA physical therapist assistant school during the pandemic, and we did hybrid learning, lab classes in person, lecture online. I learned very quickly that I do not learn through online lectures. I need to be in person to stay engaged. My waistline. I remember seeing the joke floating around all over the internet of, now that I've lived through a plague I understand why Renaissance paintings are all a bunch of chubby women laying around with their tits out. It's pretty on the nose. Being present-minded, here and now sort of mentality. Last 2 years feels like I've paused things waiting for this pandemic to blow over. But the more time passes, the more I feel like I'm just wasting away, if it makes sense. Edit. Thank you guys for the awards, and what is by far my most upvoted comment. Just wanted to clarify that my mental health is fine as far as this pandemic goes, but the comments concerns are appreciated. Stay safe and as optimistically positive as your situation allows. Working from home and rarely leaving the house has me losing track of time. Find myself having trouble recognizing the date or day of the week. Easy travel. Pre-COVID I used to head either overseas or interstate often, with minimal planning needed. I renewed my passport December 2019, so that was a unnecessary cost considering. If it makes you feel better, it costs way more to get a passport once it expires versus just renewing it. Understanding what people say. I have bad hearing loss and I rely hard on reading lips, far more than I realized. Now that everyone is wearing a mask and their voice is slightly muffled, I'm constantly asking people to repeat themselves. I have auditory processing disorder and I have the same issue. Making appointments of various kinds: medical, dental, renewing driver's licenses and such. And especially vet appointments seems like a huge hassle now, and sometimes the next free slot is weeks, months out. LOL. Yeah. I had something come up right before a dentist appointment and called to reschedule. First appointment was another 6 months. Then during the cleaning there, like, you got a lot of build up. Why did you wait so long to come in for a cleaning? Listen, mother ducker. Lee Hin Mu Fu emergency room. Edit. Welp. Never expected gilding for leaning my head back and opening my mouth, so thank you. Never expected gilding for leaning my head back and opening my mouth. There are a lot of people who'd pay good money for that. Not sure what you're talking about. Or the restaurants that went out of business. Tried and true ramen shops. Chino Cubano hole in the walls. Classic Italian fire. The underrated Mediterranean fusion spot that always gave you a little extra hummus without you asking. All the places my fiance and I used to get lost in. They're all ducking gone. It really sucks. Local or small businesses. Too. There used to be a family video hanging on a couple blocks down, and we loved the nostalgia of browsing the new releases, back titles, and renting a couple movies for the weekend. It shut down about 6 months ago. My mother-in-law gave me money for lessons for a sewing shop down the corner that offer lessons on their website. I was so excited because I just got into sewing and I want to learn. Turns out they've been closed for over a year. I miss the fact of just being sick without any other kind of concern. I have chronic, but mild, reflux. Irritates my throat, causing me to feel the need to clear it. Every other week it's been, is this cough the normal cough or COVID? Having seasonal allergies is a nightmare from a social grace perspective. Sneezing is like firing a blank in a crowd. My friends. I went from the most socially active person on the planet to a lonely asshole. Some got engaged and disappeared. Lots of them went away for work. Others simply disappeared. And knowing new people is hard as hell nowadays. These things all happened even before. But pandemic really got them bigger. God only knows how bad I'd go back in time. Casually popping into restaurants. Thought it said pooping. Still applies. Deaf person able communicate with people without a mask. So I can see their face and read lips. I've been feeling lonely. Peace man guys. I just saw this as of now and all those awards. Wow. Thank you so much. Reddit people on here. You're my friends. Internet hugs. Thank you for making my day. I wish more knew about this. One of my friends is a huge advocate for deaf and hard of hearing folks, and she is a big proponent for clear masks. Obviously not on the same level, but I have some minor hearing damage, and I find it so much harder to talk to someone with a mask on unless we are in a quiet surrounding. I can't even imagine your frustration. Is there anything that hearing people can do to help deaf people out in this situation, other than the clear masks? Texting on your notes app on your phone seems to be the only way to communicate in noisy situations. That, and patience. As frustrated as a hearing person might feel with having to repeat themselves for the one deaf person they encounter. Imagine being the deaf person that has to deal with it all day, every day. Someone being impatient with me can make me feel like shit for the rest of the day. As much as I dislike Walmart, damn do I miss them, and other stores being open late night. All of my night shift friends have suffered and forced to only shop on days off. I used to go to Walmart at around 23 anytime I needed something, and it was so much better. I could get everything I wanted right away, and if I was bored, I could gander at stuff and electronics. No lines. No assholes. Usually shelves were stocked or the pallets were sitting in the aisles and I could grab what I needed and boom. All done. Now it's a hassle every time, because everyone needs to fit their shopping in during less hours. I bet that hasn't helped with spreading the virus by making more people come together in a shorter amount of time. I miss not thinking about everything as pre-COVID. Before the pandemic, I usually just thought of past events as past events. But now, I often find myself labeling everything from 2019 and back as oh, that was before COVID. It's sad that the pandemic has gotten to the point where it defines your entire life. I'm the exact same way. Everything is now organized as pre-COVID, early COVID, or current COVID in my head right now. The weird thing for me is that the definition of early COVID keeps changing. By summer 2020, it felt like we had been in COVID for a very long time. But now, that's solidly in the early COVID stage. My favorite California burrito place. They're gone. They were jammed in a small space in a strip mall. But their prices and quality kicked the crap out of the competition. I put one of their paper menus in my filing cabinet, so I will always remember them. I can't believe I didn't post it. So many requests for the name. It was El Bigo in Imperial Beach, San Diego. RIP all the places I didn't get to try, because pre-COVID I was like, oh, I can go there whenever. No rush. Vacations. I had one booked for tail end of March 2020. Literally got cancelled on me about a week prior. I miss vacations and being able to travel. Listen to this. I somehow lucked into a once in a lifetime opportunity to go on a 9-day vacation to the Galapagos Islands tomorrow. It's been in the works for 8 months. And I've been insanely excited. Work from home. Basically don't go anywhere. If I do I'm masked. And specifically stopped leaving the house on January 1st. To be safe. COVID wise. Fully vaxxed. Boosted about a month ago. Got COVID anyway. Really have no idea how. No one in or out in the past 10 days. Symptoms started January 5th. Feeling better now. But I just took a PCR test and there's a chance that it may be negative and COVID is over for me and I can go on my amazing trip. But what are the ducking odds? I made it this far and I get it now. Sorry, I'm stressed and upset. Edit. I absolutely hope I'm not rubbing this in the noses of all you wonderful people who have shared their tragic stories of COVID ruining their plans, but the test is negative. Adios America and holla Ecuador. Thanks for all of the support. Now I've gotta finish packing. The flight leaves at 5. Not feeling like society is a joke. Honestly, the pandemic really hit home that we are all just making it up as we go along and no one knows what they're doing. I miss the very beginning of COVID when people's society were coming together, like when Disney Plus was free to help boredom and people were making makeshift food pantries in their neighborhood. I feel like it quickly shifted from the pandemic bringing people together to pushing them so far apart. The certainty, and even if life was uncertain in its own way, it was never this uncertain. Got a holiday booked for 6 months time. 99.9% you'd get to do it. Got a wedding to look forward to. Yeah, that was going to happen. Now we can't even be certain there's anything to look forward to. Edit. Thank you for the kind awards. Here's hoping that we get to do all the things this year. I never realized how much I counted on trips before the pandemic. Whenever I was sad or stressed out with work, I would remind myself it's okay. We are going to in 2 weeks. Just gotta get through these 2 weeks. I have nothing planned anymore because it'll just get cancelled or are scheduled and ultimately cancelled or forgotten about. The only things I'm looking forward to now are therapy Zooms and doctor appointments. Future is bleak. Edit. So I was in a bad place when I wrote this comment. I feel a lot better, especially after reading a lot of kind responses. There is a lot to look forward to, but it has been a rough couple years and I think we are all tired. Live music, going to shows, not having foggy glasses all the time from mask wearing. I went to a gig in December and it felt like a shot of cocaine through my system. It was unreal. I forgot what it was like to dance and sing and enjoy music. Not having to talk about the same damn thing all the time. There's definitely a sense that because people can't just go to all sorts of places anymore, they aren't having as many new and interesting experiences, and they are veritably running out of things to talk about. I feel especially unhappy about this because right before the pandemic started I was just emerging from a long period of social isolation and I was hopeful to start doing things again. So much for that. More mild depression. I have severe depression now and getting a therapist is basically impossible because everyone has depression. In addition of maybe having other mental problems. I'd love to have the ability to get therapy now instead of in 2 months. And then I go there without being accepted. Therapist here. We are depressed and burnt out too. A lot of my colleagues have shut down their practices. I'm sorry you're struggling to find one. I recommend you call around, and any good therapist who is not taking any new clients will at least have a few names they could suggest. Do this until you land on someone who is taking clients and feels like a good fit too. I miss travel. Plan to work for a year and then head to New Zealand after uni for a year of travel. I graduated in November and then COVID hit in April. Even 2 years later I haven't managed to save as nearly as I'd originally liked due to being made redundant and unemployed for a while. But I'm hoping to head over there in August, cover depending. Best of luck my dude. If you're looking for some very biased local travel advice, you'll need a car. Skip the cities. Focus on the South Island. Hit the Great Walks and check the weather daily. NZ weather flips on a heartbeat. If it's on TripAdvisor, it's probably shit. Not directly thinking about the worst thing ever when I hear someone cough, and the opposite, not feeling like a criminal when you cough in public. Honestly, out of everything, I just miss being able to go out and be in public without having, am I going to catch a horrible virus in the back of my mind all the time. I miss being able to relax. I haven't felt relaxed outside of my home in 2 years.